Greetings, Starfleet. This is Rear Admiral Stephen Stott, Inspector General for Starfleet, as well as the first officer of the best ship in the fleet, USS Raleigh McNair, coming to you from my quarters on board ship. This is my second video addressing the Starfleet Commander election. And I wanted to, in this video, show you what the ballot will look like. I will show you a draft of the ballot and kind of walk through that with you so you have an idea of what voting will be like when it comes time to vote. Remember, voting starts on September 1st of 2022. You all that are eligible to vote will be receiving an email from Simply Voting with that to log in, to link to vote, and I'll, of course, talk through that. Before I go to show you what the voting ballot looks like, I want to take a moment to explain to you a couple of questions came up on the election Facebook election page. I want to address those questions. One of those just recently was asking about the process of voting and why I had mentioned earlier that 20% of the eligible voters need to vote in order for the election to be a valid election. Also, the question along with that was, what happens if we don't get there? Well, my source for why we have to have 20% comes directly from Starfleet International's bylaws. In section Article 4.2, it states that to elect the president, vice president of the organization, you have to have at least 20% of the eligible voters voting. So that's where I get that number. It comes straight from our bylaws. I just didn't make that up. That's what it has to take for a quorum for us to be able to vote. Now, what happens if we don't get there? Well, at the end of the election, we don't get the 20% voting or get to the 20%. What happens at that point is that we have the Admiralty Board will have to elect or appoint a interim Commander Starfleet until a new election can happen. Now, I don't need to tell you that in order for that to happen, that would not be a good thing. Because, one, that means we're appointing a Commander Starfleet for an interim period. And that's up to the AB to appoint. It's not up to the people to appoint. The AB does that. And so the election itself is designed so that you as the member have a say in the vote. So it's important that you do vote. That's why I keep expressing that my desire is that we have as many people voting as possible so that the election is valid. Like I said, if it isn't a valid election at that point, then the AB appoints someone until we develop another election, and that whole process starts over again with the nomination phase and so forth. Now, the problem is, the bottom line problem is that's dollars, because these elections that we have every 3 years cost the fleet in terms of money to do the election, because we have to hire an independent CPA or election vendor to do that election. So even if we use Simply Voting again, because it's a new election process, that's another few $1,000s out of our pocket to make that happen. So it's vitally important that we as members of the fleet do our duty in terms of voting for the nominees that are out there, or the candidates, because we have our candidates. So it's important to vote for one of those candidates. You may not like it, and of course it is your right not to vote. I'm simply explaining to you in terms of protocol what happens if we don't get to that number. Now, as far as I know, that has never happened in our history in Starfleet. And actually, last election, we had a pretty good turnout. So I think and hoping that we will have that better turnout this time. So with that said, let me go to the sharing here and kind of show you what the ballot is going to look like. So grant me a second here. I'll go to the share screen, pull that up. If you can see it, what you're seeing now is an example of what the ballot actually looks like. And this is Simply Voting's draft of the ballot. Nobody can go to that right now. I'm the only one. Actually, myself as the IG, along with my deputy IG, can get this link and go to it directly to review it and so forth. And that's what we're doing. But I wanted to show it to you because this is how the ballot will look when you go online and do your own vote. If you'll notice up at the top, it has the identification of who we are, Starfleet. You'll see a home page, which is the home page actually to Simply Voting. How it works, it kind of gives you an overview of how the voting actually works. And for where it says log out, you see John Doe. If you were to actually be logged in and voting, it would have your name there as the person who's logged into the site to vote, and then you click to log out. The ballot proof, you won't see that part there. Again, this is just an example of the ballot. So I'll scroll down here, and you can see it has the title Commander STARFLEET Election 2022. Right underneath, Commander and Vice Commander. It says you may rank any of the following in order of precedence. Now, remember, I explained to you in my last video that the way we do this is that you pick your top candidate, second best, third best, fourth best. And as you can see, as we scroll down here, you can see the names of each of the different candidates. And if you click by where you see, like, for example, my finger is pointing over Mark Henderson's candidate area. So if I want to get information on Mark, all I have to do is click it, and there is Mark's platform. And you can read through the platform and see the information there, and that will help you. And like I mentioned in my last video, if you've never done this, then or never read any of the information from any of the voters here in the actual election, you can. So that's how it is right here. And that's same for Jeff, for TJ's, and for David as well. You can click on any one of those to get their information. On the left side here, you can see there's a pull down menu, and right there, as I clicked it, you see there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the first choice would be whoever you choose, and then, you know, as you click that, go to the next one, same thing, and click, you know, the next choice. It won't let you put all number one, but you can click whoever. But we do have it set up to where you don't have to pick every one of those. You can only choose one if you desire, one or two if you desire. But it's eligible for you to click and assign a number to all 4 of them. So that's how the voting happens for the candidates. Now, as I scroll down, you'll see, remember I mentioned there's an AV resolution, AV resolution 22-4. This is exactly the way that the resolution will look to you when you go to vote. So you can read the exact resolution as it was presented, how it was motioned, and what the intent of it is. And then at the bottom, right after that, you have approve, which means you approve of the resolution. You have disapprove, which means you disagree and don't think that this position should become an EC member position. And then you have the option to abstain. You don't have an opinion one way or the other. you can abstain from voting. But that's how that section goes. So as you can see, as we go back up to the top, that's pretty much, like I said, this is the way the ballot is going to look. And that's how you'll vote when you log in and go to vote. You'll first prioritize your candidates. Then you will vote on whether you approve, disapprove, or abstain from voting on the resolution. When you hit the continue button, it will take you to another part that, well, it'll validate your votes, and then it'll show you this is how you vote, and are you sure this is what you want to do? You click yes and go through. Like I said, I'm not going to go further than that because this is as far as the setup goes for the draft that I had to approve. But I wanted you to take a look at it so you'll have an idea of what it's going to be like when you actually vote. So that's the ballot. And like I said, voting will start on the 1st of September. It will run through the 15th of November. So you have until the 15th of November to cast your vote. Once the 15th hits, that will close out at approximately 11:59 Eastern Daylight Time. It will, or Eastern Standard, whichever time we're on by that time, but it's the Eastern time, my clock. The voting will finish at that point, and you won't be eligible to log in and vote after the voting's been completed. Simply Voting will do their rack and stack of the candidates, and the next day I will get a full report of the results of the election. It's normally within 48 hours that I will get the results of the election, to include how the voting went at each level. Remember, we're voting from 1 to 4 candidates, and you're ranking those. So again, to explain that process, what will happen is that whoever you voted for first, if that person is first at the end of the first round of voting, they'll stay. And then second, third, fourth comes up. Whoever was fourth at that stage of the voting, they will drop off, and all their votes will go based on how the rest of the voting for them went. Whoever ranked them, second, third, fourth, in the being, those get reallocated. Then another round happens. And then we see where we're at there. If it's the first place person or the second place person or the third. Then whoever's third place, they drop off. And then you have the 2 left, it gets reallocated. And then at the end, whichever between 1 and 2 has the most votes will become the new Commander STARFLEET Elect. And we will get to see, like I said, you'll get to see that process, how it falls out. Of course, it's all an algorithm and computerized, so we won't see it blow by blow. We'll just see the end result. However, we will see how Simply Voting calculated each one of those, and that will be a part of my report to you once we announce the election completion and who won Starfleet and how it fell out. So that's, again, the overall process. I and my team, we're going to work with you along with Simply Voting to do whatever we can to make sure that your vote counts. But it's important, again, that you have a valid email that's listed, that was listed in the database. We will fix, go through and work through glitches. If there's people out there, they're eligible voters that don't have an email out there, we'll make sure to get that, get that corrected. And again, if first hits, you don't get an email, get in touch with me, ig@sfi.org. Send me a direct email with your name, your SCC number, and your date of service in terms of when your membership expires. Reason why I need to see all that is that helps me as I look in the database to validate what you're telling me. So, for example, if you were lazy and didn't get your renewal done, it's, yesterday, what's today? Today, for me, today is the 28th of August. So if I go to a database and look at your name and it says you renewed on the 27th of August, remember 1 August was when you had to be current in your membership. So if you're just now getting the renewal, guess what? You won't be eligible to vote in this election. And I will validate that. Excuse me, my communicator's going off. It sounds like Mr. Worf is trying to get in touch with me. But I'll get in touch with him when I'm done. So again, the issue at hand is making sure that you got a valid email address, that you're current in voting, and remember, you have to be 18 or older to vote. As of, and the cutoff date on that is you have to be 18 as of November 15th, 2022. So if that's your birthday, and like, hey, I want to vote, you're good to go on that day. So you have to be older than that date. So, or the 15th of November 2004 would be your birth year. So if you're older than that, you're good. And if your membership's valid, you're good. You have to have both of those to be able to vote. And like I said, you can vote for all four, prioritize them, or you can vote for one of the candidates and then running. And remember, when you're voting, you're voting for the candidate and the running mate as a team. Okay. So that's all I have for now. I will be available for answering questions or thoughts either on the Facebook page, election page, or you can reach me again at ig@sfi.org, and I'll be glad to answer your questions and do whatever I can with me and the team. My assistant in helping with this is Colonel Jared Fielder. He's my deputy IG, and he is also assisting me as the assistant election coordinator in this election. So you can reach out to him or you can reach out to me to answer questions or fix any problems. And I'll, of course, once I get permission from him, make his contact information public so that he can get in touch with you or you can get in touch with him to get issues fixed if I'm not available. But I look forward to seeing you on the 1st and seeing what's going on. Remember, one last thing I want to share with you is that in the election process, as the moderator, I'll be able to look in and see how voting is going in terms of, not only in terms of how it's going in the election, but in terms of who's voted, when they voted. I won't be able to see how you voted, but I will be able to see when date time group of when you voted and what email and SSCC or SCC, excuse me, many S's there, SCC and how you voted. I'll be able to look at that and validate whether you voted or not. So it's very important if you happen to have a group email to make sure that you're the person that's voting and somebody's not stealing your thunder. They shouldn't be able to. There's an integrity system there. But like I said, I'll be able to look and see when each SCC is voted and validate that. So with that said, this is Rear Admiral Stephen Stott again, speaking to you from my quarters on USS Ronald E. McNair, hoping that you have a great day and look forward to seeing you out there. Live long and prosper. Rear Admiral Stott out.